It is hard to mention Mick Schumacher without thinking about his father, Michael. Michael's a big part of F1 history and still holds many of the records. But how does young Mick stack up to his father's career? What was Michael doing at the age that Mick is now? Stay tuned to find out about the cold reality of Mick's career and how he got to where he is. First up, young Mick Schumacher. What was Mick Schumacher's childhood like? It's always difficult for celebrities' children to have their own lives away from their parents, but Mick is proud of it. Mick grew up living and breathing racing. His father is Formula One legend Michael Schumacher, and his uncle Ralph was also a successful F1 driver. Racing runs in the family, and it would have been hard to avoid. Mick got into kart racing at a very young age. He has described his father as his idol and role model. It's no surprise that his dream was to follow in his father's footsteps and make it all the way to Formula One day. In the Netflix documentary about Michael released last year, his wife Karina describes him as cherishing the time he spent with his children, Mick and Gina, more than anything. He was a fierce competitor, but he was also a family man. But does Michael's legacy overshadow anything that Mick might achieve? Next, the legend of Michael and the footsteps of his father. For any Formula One fan, Michael Schumacher doesn't need any introduction, but it's worth being reminded of just how much he achieved in his career. Michael is widely considered to be one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time. At the age of 6, he had already won his first club championship and was on an unstoppable path to glory. He joined a Mercedes Junior Racing program before making his way to Formula One. He won 2 World Championship titles with Benetton in 1994 and 95 before winning 5 back-to-back titles with Ferrari between 2000 and 2004. In the final part of his career, Schumacher returned to F1 between 2010 and 2012 to help build the newly formed Mercedes team. In every sport, there is a debate about who is the greatest of all time. For F1, that debate always includes Schumacher. He won 7 World Championships, and that has only been equaled by Lewis Hamilton. His behavior on track was criticized for being dangerous and at times on the edge, but his skill was never questioned. Mick is still young. What was Michael doing at his age? At Mick's age of 22, Michael had just switched teams from Benetton to Jordan. The following year, he finished 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Then he went on to claim the title in both 1994 and 1995. But it was a different world then, and it's difficult to compare eras of motorsport. Mick's driving with Haas, who may be more competitive in 2022, but they still look unlikely to seriously challenge for a top spot. When Michael was driving, there were many more teams competing for the title. Recently, it has been only Mercedes and Red Bull, but in 2022, there are some big regulation changes. There's also a new cost cap to try and level the playing field. This applies to how much can be spent to improve the performance of a car and doesn't include marketing or driver salary costs. This shakeup could be a chance for Mick to show the world what he's really made of. Is he just the son of a famous F1 champion, or is he continuing this legacy to more success? What is the cold hard truth about Mick's career? Will he ever be as good as his father? And how much is the Schumacher brand really worth? Don't go anywhere, or you'll miss all this and more. Next, Michael's tragic injury. In 2013, Michael had a skiing accident in the French Alps, hitting his head on a rock. He was put into a medically induced coma and has been slowly recovering ever since. Mick was with his father at the time of the accident, which must have been traumatic for him. Almost a year after the accident, it was reported that Michael was paralyzed, in a wheelchair, he couldn't speak, and that he was having memory problems. His condition has been improving, but Michael still struggles to communicate, and the family have been very private since Michael's accident and have not spoken to the media. For his wife Karina, it is very important that they protect Michael's privacy in the same way that Michael protected theirs. What would Michael think of Mick now? There is no doubt that he would be proud of Mick. Mick could have used Michael's experience in his young career. He has said that he would sacrifice everything he has for a chance to talk with his father again. After Michael's tragic injury, Mick's success has been a way for the F1 community to continue to remember the Schumacher legacy. He chose the race number 47 to mean 4-7, in reference to Michael's 7 World Championships. Now, the Schumacher brand. How much is it worth, and how Mick got a seat? How much is the name Schumacher worth? For a long time, you couldn't talk about F1 without talking about Schumacher. The impact he had on the sport over his 22-year-long involvement made him a celebrity off the track, too. His image and story have become a brand, with Michael Schumacher's net worth estimated at over $1 billion. That's right, $1 billion. He is one of only a few athletes to ever achieve this. This raises some questions about Mick. How did Mick start in motorsport compared to Michael's? And how did he secure an F1 seat? He didn't have the same level of success in karting and had disappointing results in his first season of Formula 3 before winning the title the next year. He was then moved up to Formula 2, and after another slow season, he won the F2 title in dramatic fashion in the final race of 2020. He was then quickly promoted to Formula 1 F1 the next year, driving for Haas alongside Nikita Mazepin. It has taken some time for Mick to come into form, and it is likely that he wouldn't have been given the same opportunities if he were not the son of Michael. Mick's presence in the team also helps with branding and advertising, as he is considered a good representative of the Schumacher name. Next, managing the height and expectations. Apparently, when Mick was racing as a child in karting, he would often use a different surname to try and avoid attention, but this didn't stop the international media, who love to report on his successes and talk about a Schumacher racing dynasty. How has Mick managed to handle the pressure of being the son of the GOAT? When asked about the pressure that comes with his surname, Mick has said that he is proud to have his father's last name and to continue his legacy. He requested to use the abbreviation MSC rather than SCH to honor his father. He is committed to keeping his head down, working hard, and helping the Haas team achieve some results. Mick has some tension with his Russian teammate Nikita Mazepin in 2021 and clashed both on and off track several times. Schumacher consistently outperformed Mazepin, and it looked like there was a big gap in skill level. Mick's uncle Ralph added gas to the fire when he said that Mazepin doesn't deserve to be in Formula One based on his performance. According to Ralph, Mazepin was not helping to move the Haas team or Mick's development forward in any way. Team boss Gunther Steiner has warned the two drivers that they need to keep in line and remember that they are part of a team, especially with the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict and Mazepin's future in the sport at risk. It seems like Haas's focus will naturally be on Mick. It looks like he might have what it takes to get some results. Now, the reality. Mick may never be as good. The cold hard reality is that Mick may never be as good as his father. In fact, it's basically impossible. To fill his father's shoes is an enormous task to ask of Mick. We are talking about one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time. But is this even within Mick's control? It's not all up to him. In Formula One, you need to have the right team, the right car, and the right performance, all at the same time. Even the best drivers on the grid today would really struggle in any of the backmarker cars. This is where career management is so important. To be successful for a long time, drivers need to know when it's time to move. Lewis Hamilton made the difficult decision to leave McLaren in 2013. McLaren had been a huge part of his career. They have sponsored him since he was 13 years old, and he won his first world championship with them in 2008. In the same way, Mick's father Michael made some important decisions in his career. He left the Benetton team in 1995, where he had already won 2 championships. He then worked with Ferrari to produce one of the most dominant periods of Formula One. After retiring for a few years, he then came back to Mercedes in 2010 and helped build the team into what it is today. So if Mick can make the right choices at the right moments, he can put himself in a position for success. He definitely has the network and is well respected in the paddock. But does he have the right instincts that the truly great drivers have had? And that's all for today. We'll see you next time.